Oh, you know, how about long pauses? Are those good for podcasts?
Long pauses are great for podcasts. They're actually preferable because I've had so many jobs. I don't want to tell my parents anymore that I got a new job.
Mm-hmm.
This will be the job. I will be here until I can do music full time. So if I have to be here for 15 years,
Yeah.
I will never quit this job.
That's a good way to do it.
The only way I'm leaving is if they fire me, and they did.
Oh.
I think my greatest fear in life is like I'll meet some girl who I think is incredible, and then like I'll go over to meet her family, and her dad will be like, "What do you do, son?" And I'll be like, "Well, sir, I'm a YouTuber," and he'll be like, "Get out."
Welcome back to the Andrew Masters Podcast. Today's guest is Mike Cole. Mike is a Nashville musician who has had a ton of recent success on YouTube. His channel is called Mike Cole. Mike's a talented guitar player, a funny guy, and a very good friend of mine. He's actually kind of a neighbor and lives like 5 minutes away from me. So it's very, very easy to get this podcast going here. I'll link his channel down in the description, and I want to thank you for checking out this episode. Subscribe to the channel, share the episode with a friend. If you want to support the podcast, you can go to andrewmastersmusic.com and pick up the Studio Kit drum sample pack. Easy way to get some new sounds for your productions or your mixes and support the work that I do over here. All right, let's get into it. It's pretty nice though, huh?
It sounds really good.
Thank you. Oh, you know, how about long pauses? Are those good for podcasts?
Long pauses are great for podcasts. They're actually preferable, depending on who you ask.
This is great, dude. Just having somebody on and then just eating and drinking and not asking them anything.
That's what every podcast should be.
That would be a good extra bit to do.
That's literally basically ASMR.
Are we rolling? Okay, and then just start eating. Okay, so I just remembered on Welsh Arms podcast, I asked them to introduce themselves. And on Jacob's podcast, I did not. I just totally skipped that. So if you would like to introduce yourself to me, because we're just now meeting.
Okay, we're just now meeting. My name is Mike.
Hey, Mike.
And
what do you do?
I do YouTube stuff.
YouTube stuff. Yeah, I like that. That's a good way of putting it.
I never know what to say to that. And like I've said before to many people, I think my greatest fear in life is like I'll meet some girl who I think is incredible, and then like I'll go over to meet her family, and her dad will be like, "What do you do, son?" And I'll be like, "Well, sir, I'm a YouTuber," and he'll be like, "Get out."
Yeah, you know, it's a interesting thing. So I'll just give a little context. I met you 2018.
Yes.
And I was driving for Uber as a side gig. Not many people know this about me. Moved to Nashville, and for some extra dough was giving strangers rides. And one of those strangers was you and your mom.
Yep.
And your mom's a great person. We hit it off. We were talking it up. Mike was in the corner with his headphones looking at the back.
Literally that entire trip took a toll on me. So when we were in the Uber, I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to talk to anybody for the next 30 minutes on the way to the airport. I'm just going to have my headphones in, listen to Lewis Watson's new album, and just...
Interesting to learn what you were listening to. Meanwhile, I was playing Where the Light Is.
Yep, Belief.
And Mike perked up. Is this where the light is? And the fact that you named the specific performance rather than it saying, is this John Mayer? I was like, oh, I like this guy. This guy knows what's up.
That was like the instant thing of like me taking off my headphones, being like, "This is where the light is."
Yeah.
You were like, "Yeah." I was like, "You got good taste."
Heck yeah. Yeah, and that's how we met. And what were you doing at that time? You were in school?
No, I had just finished school, and I
That's
had
right.
done the like 6-month recording program in Philadelphia.
In Philly.
Yes.
What was the name of the school?
I'd rather not say,
Oh, okay.
because
Was it like a trade school? Was it like a college or university?
it was a 6-month program. It's kind of like a trade school.
Oh, okay.
They had a lot of promises. Let's say that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of the recording schools are kind of like that. Some of them charge astronomical amounts of money. Some of them charge a lot of money. And at the end of the day, for the most part, there are no jobs.
And that's the thing about the one I went to. They had a big thing on like, we have like a 70% placement rate in the music industry for jobs.
Totally.
And I was like, at the time I was telling all my friends, like, I'm going to be on tour with Mayer next year.
Dude, it could happen. I don't know how long it's been, but you could probably still make it happen.
It was just one of those things where it's like, yeah. So I had done that, and I was living at home because I didn't really know what to do. My sister went to Vanderbilt, and she was living here. So we came to visit her for like a week. And we just like did a bunch of random Nashville stuff. We went down to Broadway. We like went to the Music Hall of Fame, like different stuff like that.
Tourist stuff. Yeah. So you did a little bit of Uber, but you did like the Uber Eats, right? You didn't like driving crazy people around. But I drove all of those people to those places.
Yeah. So I did Uber for 2 days on Broadway.
Wow.
And I did it at, I think it was 10:30 p.m. on a Friday night, and I have never in my life experienced it taking 30 to 40 minutes to go down one block.
Yeah, I always try to steer clear from there. Okay, so you went to a recording program, and then how soon after that did you move to Nashville?
So I finished the recording program in December of 2017. I lived with my parents till May of 2018. So it was about 6 months between when I finished the recording program and when I moved to Nashville. And right before I moved, there was one really big job offer to be like a live engineering aide at this place in New Jersey. And I thought, and that it was kind of interesting because right before I had moved to Nashville, like literally like a month before, I had my like heart set on that job, and like it was one of those things where like the interviewer, the guy who was interviewing me, who ran the place, he was like, he's like, "You got this experience? You went to this record? Oh, that's really cool. Oh, you seem like you seem really passionate about it." And I was like, wow. I was telling my mom, I was like,
nailing this.
Yeah, I was telling my mom, I was literally already like looking at apartments in New Jersey. I stayed with my friend, and then he emailed me 2 weeks later, and he was like, "Sorry, buddy."
Ah, dang. It's tough when you're in that position, getting out of, especially if it's like recording or let's say more broadly music school, and you just anything you can get to get money. You're like really hungry and probably down for. However, the kids these days are pretty savvy.
They are. And it's weird because I think just any 18-year-old going into like music school has these like weird expectations. Like I was saying, like as soon as I get out, somehow, some way, Ariana Grande is going to hit me up because she listened to my demo and it's just going to be whatever. And it's like,
anything can happen and crazy stuff does happen. But I understand the dreams in that time and just sort of the unknown.
Yeah. It's And it, like I said, it's not necessarily a bad thing to be like optimistic and to like really want to be that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just interesting how things will change, I guess, once you really figure out like what the music industry is.
Yeah. Let me know. I think the industry is sort of constantly changing, and what the industry has been is just like sort of fighting to keep every little bit that it can.
Mm-hmm.
But I think because of technology and just the younger people, the young folks these days, the youth are making it change pretty fast. So I think I'm optimistic about it.
Yeah.
And then you moved here.
Yes.
What were you doing when you first moved here?
So I had when I came to Nashville, me and my friend, his name is also Andrew, we joke about this a lot. I think before I started doing YouTube, I might have had 10 to 12 different jobs.
What?
In 3 to 4 years.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was 2018 when you moved here.
Yeah. I started off, I worked for a company in Madison for a couple months that the stuff we were doing, the stuff they were doing was not that reputable. We basically would like stand inside of Home Depot and like ask for people's phone numbers and we're like, oh yeah, we're doing this little survey, and then they'd end up calling people and asking them and trying to sell them stuff, and I was like, yeah, I'm not about this. But the thing about all of those jobs is pretty much every single one, whenever I would leave the job, for the most part for a while, I always thought my next job, like, that's it. It's music time. It's full-time music time. Yeah. I did that, and then I tried my first stint driving for Uber, which was those 2 days down on Broadway. I worked for a bunch of different phone companies. I was a Segway tour guide at one point.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. How was that?
It was good. We never actually got to do it. Unfortunately, the company like shut down once COVID started.
Oh, okay.
But there are a couple other jobs I'm trying to remember at this. Oh yeah, I was a substitute teacher. My main gigs I was a substitute teacher for a year.
Whoa.
And I DJ'd weddings for 3.5 years.
That's right. I remember that.
Yep.
Interesting. How did you get into that?
I literally saw an ad on Indeed, and they said, and I responded, and I was like, hey, I have a lot of energy and I like music stuff. And they were like, for sure, for shizzle, homie. And they said the first thing they said to me was like, hey, by the way, this is not a full-time job.
Yeah.
It is like, we, especially starting out, we'll give you 1 to 2 weekends a month. That's it. But if you really, it was a great company. They're called DJ Connection. They're amazing. And within a year or so, I was like doing it pretty much full time. There were seasons where it wasn't like great.
Sure, yeah. Nashville's a great city to be in to do that.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. And my plan was, for a while, I was like, listen, I got a little bit more realistic about music.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how this is going to work out. I really don't know. But if it doesn't, my plan was to use, because that company's opening up offices all across the country, and they're always like, hey, if you're like doing really well with us, you can apply to be like, to own your own branch, and we're going to be putting out an LA office in like 2 years.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to kill it. And then I'm going to use that to get me to LA and really start making music.
You would not like it if you. I know you well enough to know that how little you love spending money.
Mm-hmm.
You would be shacked up with somebody in a studio apartment.
LA would be.
And you'd have 3 roommates. And you'd be like, what? You telling me I have to... my cut is $200 a month? This is ridiculous.
It literally would be that. I don't know. Yeah, it was just one of those things that it was very much a gamble with that company though.
Yeah.
Because when you tell them I'm ready to own my own branch, they go, great. What's your number one? What's your number two? What's your number three? And so your number one might be LA, but literally everyone and their best friend is trying to get the LA job.
How about Flagstaff, Arizona?
Boom. They put San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah.
But yeah, the DJing weddings was one of the most fun jobs I've ever had. It's just hard because it can get inconsistent. I had months where I did 9 weddings. I had months where I didn't do one for two months.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, man. And then I'm trying to remember. It had to have been 2019 when we hung out at the studio I was at called Beast Side in East Nashville. And I had invited you over probably on some sessions or like setups for sessions or something. And I had decided that I was going to make a YouTube channel.
Yes. Because I remember you saying, like, I have, like, what was it, like 500 subscribers?
Yeah, something
from
like that.
2 years ago. And I was like, shoot, he's famous.
Dude, the people have been waiting. I was so certain. I'm like, dang, they subscribed, and I forgot about this channel. I forgot I even made this. But yeah, I did a bunch of sort of, try to think of like the best. Try to rebrand the channel essentially, because the channel prior was like a blog, like side thing. The YouTube channel was just to serve the website. It was very much Recording Revolution, similar, adjacent, or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's back when Graham was just killing the game.
Yeah, and we probably read the same book because the book was written in 2008. And I read it in 2015, a few years after it was expired. Essentially, all the advice is like no longer useful. But yeah, I was like, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna really try to like put my eggs in this basket. And I think you, around that time, wanted to do something similar. Not similar to my channel, but like do something like a vlog 100-day thing.
Oh yeah, I think that was a little bit later. I think that was a little bit like it must have been 2018 because that's when I visited Beachside a lot. But
oh really?
It might have been 2018 because actually I don't know.
No, it was 2019.
It was 2019
because I didn't post my first video until June 2019.
Wait, really?
And I remember we sat down and did a video that was going. That I didn't post, but it was going to be like talking about recording school.
Music, yes. And I do remember that day because you had like you're still doing it on an iPhone, but I think you had like a softbox. Like sort of thing. And I was like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
This man is serious.
We're legit. Yeah. So that was cool that you were starting on that journey then, but I like me, I think you just didn't really know exactly what you were going to do.
I had no clue. So my plan was basically to do like 100-day vlog thing.
Yeah.
And every single weekday during the summer, I would post a video and just like record or just showing how I recorded this EP. Cause I've literally been talking about recording an EP since I started recording music December 2016, 6 years ago. And I was like, the people are ready. And at that time, I'm not saying I'm some great producer now, but I had no clue what I was doing. And at the end of the 100 days, I hadn't finished a single song.
Yeah, there's a danger that I've learned. There's a danger in telling people about something that you are doing or are excited to do or about to start.
Yeah.
Versus not telling them and just doing it, because there's almost like like a little bit of a dopamine kick you get from telling, like, oh, I have an idea. I'm going to tell you about my idea.
Yep.
Even though I haven't done it yet. And then you've told, it turns out, months later, you've told a bunch of people and you're like, man, I got to start this soon because a bunch of people know. And then you're like, yeah, I'm not going to do it. Or something like that. I've had that experience with a bunch of things. And now I really try hard to just practice not telling people.
Yep.
And then because everything is YouTube now, I'm like, just upload the video.
It's like the Instagram thing. It's like I used to do this all the time. Show like a screenshot of Pro Tools. Be like, it's on the way. Or show like a little snippet of like,
let's go.
A song I recorded in like 30 minutes. Like, you're not ready for this.
So you got into when did you get into playing guitar?
That's an interesting story. So I took so my grandmother brought me a guitar when I was 12. It was the first act. It probably cost $50. We bought it at a pawn shop because my best friend played guitar at the time, and I took lessons for a year. And during that year, it was at a place called Wayne's World in Leesburg, Virginia. We probably went over the same song every single week for a year because that's what 12-year-olds do. I was more concerned with SpongeBob than practicing. And I literally remember my guitar teacher being like, Michael. He sat me down one day. He's like, Michael, please, 15 minutes a day. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got stuff going on. And so I stopped playing guitar when I was 13. And I didn't pick up the guitar again for 5 years.
Okay.
And that was when the second Hobbit movie came out.
Okay.
The Desolation Schmaw. And me and my friends went to see the movie. And I had been in college for a semester. I went to a tiny little Christian college. Literally every dude there is trying to get a wife by playing the acoustic guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to the movie. And at the end of the movie, a little song called I See Fire by Ed Sheeran starts playing. And it was literally like a movie moment for me. Yeah. Like, I've never heard anything like this. I haven't picked up a guitar in 5 years. But I went home and I picked up a guitar that night. And the next day, I was like, Mom, can you buy me a guitar? And she was probably like, What are you talking about? Like, you... Mm-hmm. You're like a kid who likes like basketball. Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got the guitar and you started.
I got the guitar
playing, or did same thing happen again? Or
so that next semester at school, every single day was exactly the same. Wake up, go to class, come back from class at like 3-4 p.m. and I would play till midnight.
Ooh.
The only break was dinner.
Yeah.
Just every single day, at least 6 to 7 hours a day.
Oh.
It got to the point where
that's great.
My GPA was so low halfway through the semester. It was a 0.9.
Oh my God.
And my friends, shout out Tyler and Aaron, took away my guitar.
That's like partial attendance.
Yeah. That is literal, because I wasn't skipping that many classes. I was literally just going to class and not turning anything in and failing all the tests. My friends took away my guitar, and they were like, we don't want you to fail out of here.
It's funny. In hindsight, it's like that's like the thing that you clearly had the interest and motivation to do, and fast forward to now is the thing that pays all the bills.
It really is interesting, because I'm not like sitting here like, oh, screw college, no one needs it.
Yeah.
But like, it is just weird to think about the thing that I thought made me like the laziest kid in there, because I wasn't doing my homework and I was just practicing guitar, is actually, like you said, the thing that like pays the bills now.
Yeah.
It's like weird how it all comes together.
When I was in, regular public school for ever. Mm-hmm. And I had a similar thing. I didn't have a 0.9. That's legendary. But I was very average academically.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just had no interest in any of it. I actually liked geometry my junior year. I took geometry. I'm like, I love this, actually.
Dude, I don't get you. Geometry, I was like middle school and elementary school. I was like the math kid in school. Like literally everyone knew you couldn't beat me in math. Geometry was the first math test. I got a 60. And I was like, what's happening? But sorry, continue.
No, I something clicked for me there, but otherwise I had, because of the whole grade system and all that, I just thought like, oh, I'm just dumb, you know, like it didn't necessarily bother me or anything. I just thought like, yeah, you know, my friends are smart and I'm kind of dumb, and it is what it is.
But you literally get into that mindset. You're just like, I guess I'm like,
yeah, I'm a below average person. And when after high school, I did like a quarter maybe, or maybe a semester of community college for architecture is what I was.
I didn't know it was for architecture. Okay.
I like drawing. Yeah, I forget that I like doing it, but I didn't know what else to do. And I was working like just random jobs. I worked at a tanning salon, and I want to say it was when I was on a shift, like the guy at the front who was just slinging tanning lotion, you know.
Yeah.
Here's what you need. Great gig. And I saw an ad for a recording school, MI, and it was like these kids in a big control room with a console, and I was like, you can go to school for this? Because all I did even then was like, I would go to class and then I'd go home and I would record.
Yeah.
By that point, I had an interface. I had, you know, my drums mic'd up. I had even made videos, I think probably with like a point and shoot cam or just my IMAX, you know, built-in cam, and recorded my friends' bands and stuff like that. But that's all I cared about, was getting better at recording. I had Logic 8, and when I saw that, I was like, oh, dude, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. Like, you can get paid. This is a job.
Yep.
I spend money doing this and spend time. It's all I do. And, and then when I went to fast forward a year and a half, I moved to LA, went to a school, and dude, it was like, I couldn't absorb enough information when I was there. It was like, I want to know everything. And got a 4.0, and then when I graduated, they gave me like a outstanding achievement award.
I remember you saying that.
Which is
for like
was
Pro Tools?
No, just for like being a great student. Like, and there was only one student in the whole school that got it, and I was very confused because, again, dummy over here. I'm like, wait, what? How is this possible? I mean, I recognized and I thought that I was pretty good at it because I enjoyed it, and I could, you know, I'd hear my stuff, I hear other people's stuff, I go, I think it sounds way better, but you know, who knows? But it was a weird moment when they gave me that award. I was like, I didn't say this because they brought you up and you had to say something. But I thought, like, me? Ooh, what does that say about you guys? Because I am not smart. But I was interested in it. Yeah. And I was am obsessed, you could say. So just finding something that you can obsess over is probably a better path than trying to force college. In my scenario, it was like any college I did was going to be forced. Like I don't care. And I learned after that, like, oh, if I do things that I care about, I can do a good job at that. Yeah. Which is a good thing to be aware of. I was not aware of that.
Oh, no. I think there's, you know, like we said a couple times, like you just think there's one academic road. And it's not even saying that people who go down that are bad, because like I had a professor at college graduation who was like talking to my parents, and she's my favorite professor of all time. Shout out Kim Miller. And she was like, and his music is amazing. Like, we've been listening to it all this time, and I was like, what? I didn't even know you knew about that.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's like when you find that thing you can obsess over. Because I wouldn't even, if someone were to hypothetically ask me, like, should I go into like music production or anything music because I'm good at it, I wouldn't necessarily say yes.
Mm-hmm.
And be like, is this what you obsess over?
Yeah.
And if it's not, then it's just going to be putting yourself through a lot of torment for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what it was like for you and your program, but our class room started with like 35 students.
Mm-hmm.
And by the second quarter, our class was about 15, maybe less. And then by the time we graduated, there was like 12 people in our classroom. But it was a lot of kids that I think just didn't quite know what they wanted to do. And they thought, this would be more fun than college.
Yeah.
Is going into that. And then that was a bummer because for me and the 3 other Asian kids, shout out Stephen Ting, shout out Chen Fu and John Wu. It was like we cared. And then the second that somebody was screwing off or not paying attention, I hated that person. I was like, please shut up, or please pay attention. You're like making all of this worse, take longer, and therefore I'm missing out on some goods.
Yeah.
So now it's like, now I'm doing YouTube stuff, and you also are, but I started back then in that moment at that studio. That was when I pulled the trigger, and I had sort of a slow, in the beginning it's very slow. Yes. And you're not making any money, and no one cares. No one watches.
Literally no one cares. Like I had this moment with like friends. Not my good friends, because like my best friends, they've always supported. But there's certain friends you have that like you'll notice that your video has like, I don't know if you notice it, your video will have like 7 views. Mm-hmm. I know my mom watched it twice. I know 2 or 3 of my other friends watched it twice, and like, but 15 people have told me, "Oh, your last video was great," and I'm like, "Oh,
yeah." Yeah, man, it does take a bit of a faith. I do liken it a little bit to religion, where like I had to believe that it was going to work out, and I had to commit to consistently doing it, and that it would be worth it if I did. But eventually, I think for me, it was like 9 months, 7, 8 or 9 months, and then I started getting some growth, and that feels so good.
That first hit.
And then a company hit me up, and they were like, "Do you want to review these speakers?" And then I got a sponsor, and that was just like, it gave me so much gasoline to go full time. That's when I decided, hey, I told my wife and I both came to the agreement that we were going to be extra poor that year, and I was going to no longer have side gigs and go full time on this. And but I've been doing that since then. You have a different version of that. Tell me about that.
Oh yeah, and by the way, I literally think I remember when you told me that you were going full time on YouTube. How many subscribers did you have?
I probably just somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000.
Yeah. Yeah, for me it was different. What a lot of people don't know is that I have had this channel for 5 years. I started in 2016. I started the channel 2016 or 2017, and it was kind of like you. I had been posting random guitar covers, bad quality, bad playing, for just randomly, a couple throughout the year. Yeah. Because I was like, this will be cool. Maybe a girl will see this and she'll think it's cool. And what's weird is a lot of people know that my channel took off earlier this year, but I actually had an initial, I was working for a phone company in January of 2020 running around November of 2020. And what would happen was it was in a weird time where YouTube Shorts would take off, and it wouldn't be just like, it would be like I'd post a video that I specifically remember on a Friday night while I was at work. It had 30 to 100 views.
Mm-hmm.
And then I look back and it had 3,000.
Oh, yeah.
And I legitimately called my mom and I said, this is crazy. And my mom was like, maybe a celebrity reposted it. And it would go from 30 views to 30,000 within the course of an hour.
Yeah.
Unbelievable numbers. And then it would just stop.
Yeah, totally stop.
Completely halt. And a month later, it would have 30,000, 25 views. But
yep.
I had 3 or 4 of those take off.
I remember that. I remember just randomly seeing oh my gosh. What I noticed is you had started playing around with titles.
Yes.
I don't know if that's around the same time.
That was around that time because that first one was called something about Corey Wong. Doing this video to impress Corey Wong.
Right.
Or something like that. So that got me above 100 subscribers. That one got me to 150 subscribers maybe, which still at the time felt crazy.
Yeah.
150 subscribers.
It's all relative, when you're used to having 50 subscribers and you notice when you get 2 subscribers in a day.
Yes.
And you notice when you lose one.
You literally... When you go from 167 to 166, you're like,
dang it, they must have really not liked what I said about this or that, or some silly thing.
And around that point, I still continued posting some random stuff. So I had like I said, 2 to 3 videos, maybe 4 get 30,000 views. The rest I would have the occasional 2,000 view video of me just being like, this is what John Frusciante sounds like, and I'd be like, wow. 2,000 views. I'm a killer.
Yeah.
And then what happened was I went over to your house, and I don't remember what video it was, but you were showing me some recording stuff or something, and I just got inspired, and I texted you, and I was like, I just made this video, and you were like, you gotta fix the framing on the camera.
Yeah. What's funny is I'm, by trade in audio, studio guy, but when I got into YouTube, I got really into the video side of things, and perhaps even equally obsessed with making things better. But getting better quality, making better videos, just like making better songs. I wanted to figure out how can I, because the fear is I'm not that interesting, but how can I make a video really interesting and making something that's fun to watch, that looks cool.
Yeah.
And the more I learn about that, that will help make up for the lack of interestingness of me.
But I think that's what... And I think you're super interesting, by the way.
Oh.
I think that's what I feel like that's what a lot of starting creators don't get. And I guess I'm still a starting creator. I've only been doing this really for 7 months, but it's more than just let me play you a cool guitar lick. You gotta learn about the intangibles and about learn how a camera works. Learn about that stuff. And that's what'll set your channel apart.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly helps. I don't know if it's necessarily required, but I think it really helps if you can do something and it sounds good and it looks good. For me, that was important, especially if I'm trying to talk about audio. If it sounds bad, then that is just so beautiful.
Oh yeah!
Look at this audio guy. His audio is terrible.
I didn't even get into that stuff till halfway through this year after I'd posted over 100 videos. But you told me to fix the framing.
Yeah.
On that video, and I went home, and this was about February of 2021. I was working I was selling phones, pun intended, and I
2021?
2021
Okay.
put out a video called "The Moment I Knew John Mayer Was Next Level," and that video got 100 views, and that video had 100 views for 12 months, which was pretty standard for a video I put out.
Yeah.
And then November 2021, I got fired, got let go. It was actually
That was the phone company?
a phone company.
Oh, yeah.
And let's just say they're not known for having great customer service, if you know which one I'm talking about.
Great service, though.
Yeah. And they fired me. I had it in my mind at that point. I had become like pretty much a realist. I was like, listen, I know the professional musician thing is probably never going to happen. But if it does, because I've had so many jobs, I don't want to tell my parents anymore that I got a new job. This will be the job. I will be here until I can do music full time. So if I have to be here for 15 years,
Yeah.
I will never quit this job.
That's a good way to do it.
The only way I'm leaving is if they fire me, and they did.
Oh.
So I get fired, very unexpected, and that was late November 2021. That video still has 100 views, and I start looking for jobs around Nashville, and I just don't know what to do. Like, I have no path.
Good feeling, huh?
Great feeling.
Yeah.
Talked to my parents about it. I prayed about it. I thought about it a lot, and I decided I'm gonna do Uber Eats.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And there's so many stigmas around it, but being someone who I've always valued, at least recently, time over money. I really like my time.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna scrape by. I'm going to drive Uber for a couple days a week, like 3, 4, 5. Sometimes I'll do 12 hours. Sometimes I'll do 7. But I'm going to use the rest of the free time and the fact that I can control my schedule to make music.
Yeah.
And to learn how to do it. And what happened? While I'm driving Uber in January or February, I noticed that video with 100 views now has like 1,000.
So you're still checking up on like your YouTube stuff.
Yeah, and I'm still posting different beats. I played a couple gigs around town, and it has like 1,000 views, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's cool.
1,000, yeah.
1,000 views. It's not going to do anything for me.
10x.
Yeah. And then I check back, after a week more of driving Uber, and it has 10,000 views, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
10,000 views on a YouTube video. Again, it doesn't pay anything.
Right. Yeah. For context, all of this work and all of these things being done, not monetized. So this is just putting it out there and just seeing what happens.
Dude, it's just a wild thing to think about that like someone can wake up tomorrow, have a 1 million view video, completely viral, 4 hours long.
Yeah.
And if they're not monetized,
oh yeah,
$0.
Yeah.
So eventually that video gets to almost 100,000 views. And at that point, I don't even want to jinx it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I might have a YouTube video with 100,000 views. That's absolutely nuts. And I think I got to 100,000 views. I'm like calling my friends, like, this is crazy. Call my other friend Andrew as well. And I'm like, dude, I have like 1,200 subscribers. And he was like, no, you don't. You have like 20. And I'm like, no, look now.
What? So, okay. So when was that? This must have been around the time that I called you.
Yeah, it was like March or something. And
Okay.
like, I remember calling you in the car one day. Just like, how do I, like, because you were like, you can monetize now. And I was like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
And the funny thing, the crazy part of all of it is that to get monetized, you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours.
Yeah. 4,000 hours of time watched within the last 365 days.
Yes.
So you got to have, it's got to be as of recent, like not lifetime.
So I looked on there and I said, I got the 1,000 subscribers, but it's saying like 3,200 hours watched. And you were like, I guess you just gotta wait. And I was like, dang. And then I checked back the next day to the YouTube Studio app, and I was like, wait, that 3,200 is in the last like
28 days.
Yeah. And I was like, it's go time.
Yeah.
Uh,
So this is I've told this story to other people to inspire them, because it is like such an inspiring story. What I didn't see that video. The video that I saw came in my YouTube recommendation right at the top of my recommendation, which, just so people know, if something comes and is recommended to you and it's the first video on your phone that's recommended, that's a really good thing for that person who posted it.
oh yeah.
And it was your video, which was unusual for your video to be at the top of my feed. And it was every John Mayer fan in 30 seconds. It wasn't the other one. And that video had like 30-something thousand views.
So yeah, that was the first video, because I remember I'm still driving Uber at this point.
Yep.
Like every, all week long. And that was the first video I remember I posted, I think, on a Friday.
Mm.
And I had never had it happen before, because I called my friend Brad and I was like, have you checked YouTube? Because this video has 20,000 views. And I posted it at 9 this morning.
Yep.
It's like 6 p.m. at night.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Even for right now, where
Yeah.
my channel is at,
Yeah.
that would be a crazy video.
Yeah.
So I was like, what is happening?
Yeah. So you started, I mean, most of these videos are you playing guitar.
They're just they're just comedy videos,
Yeah.
just making jokes.
But before the comedy thing, it was you playing guitar or playing a beat that you produced or something,
No
and playing
comedy
guitar
at
to
all.
it. Yeah, and then you started getting clever with the titles, and then you started essentially turning them into a short form bit,
Yeah, without doing
where the
actual shorts.
title was the sort of the punchline.
Yep.
And then you just watch it get to the punchline, and the very end is like right when the magic happens. It was such a good formula. And when I watched that video, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" And then I called you, and yeah, I was like, "You got to pay attention to these things, because you're going to be able to be monetized, and if you don't monetize, you're going to miss out on revenue." And you're like, "What's monetization?"
Basically, like I've loved YouTube for more than 10 years.
Yeah,
I loved YouTube, but that side of it,
yeah,
just no clue at all. And I think I probably missed out on a bit of money, because I didn't monetize till like 5
couple
days.
weeks.
Yeah, it was like a week, maybe 5 days or a week till after we'd had our conversation.
Yeah, I remember talking to you a few days later, and that's when you told me, like, "Oh, I realized I am past the 4,000 hours." And then I think I was watching a movie with my kid, and I was texting you because you were like, which thing do I go to apply for?
Yeah, it's like, how do I even like? I remember you showing me like you texted me like a screenshot of
Yeah.
your YouTube Studio, because I was like, I don't know how to
Yeah.
even press the monetize button.
And then, yeah, you kept doing that. But that John Mayer video, the 30-second one, like a week later or somewhere around there, it had like 150,000 views, then like 200,000
Yep.
views, 250, and it's like, whoa, that's
like,
really fast. And it's still, and then what happens is, you kept posting more, like, so you got that big like jump in the algorithm recommendations, and so you had all these new people coming in, but then because you had posted more and they were in that similar sort of thing, people could then, it was like a 30-second video, so it's like such a small amount of time to ask of a viewer that they get through it, and now they're choosing to click onto another one, and that's how you blow up on YouTube.
Yep.
Click through and watch time. They watch the whole thing and click through the next one. And
I think it's like you said, it's kind of like the titles thing. Like when I used to say blankety blanket 30 seconds, it's like I'm already telling you what you're committing to.
yeah.
And I think that's why it works so well.
And then, okay, so you crossed the 1,000 subscriber thing, and then it was like 5,000 subscribers, and then it was like 10,000. And I remember we would get together every once in a while, and I think you came over, and I don't know if we were working on something, but you were like, "I have to go because I have to jam." And I was like, "Where are you jamming?" You're like, "My house." I was like, "Why don't you jam here? And I'll jam with you." And you're like, "Whoa, really?" I'm like, yeah, we got, look at, let's jam here. And that's when I met Daniel.
Yeah.
And man, that was so fun. And actually, that's when we shot the
first John Mayer Daughters video.
Yeah, the recording a song in an hour.
An hour,
dude. That was super duper fun. But yeah, and then since then, I knew, I was like, dude, you're gonna fly right past my channel in all metrics, and monetarily, you outperform me like insane. That first month.
Yeah, that first month was crazy because I made more money than probably I ever thought I would in a single month. But it was just like weird seeing those videos like really blow up because like one of my friends from college, she recently got married.
Mm-hmm.
Great dude. And he's like a guitar player. I think it's like a hobbyist, and he's like watching guitar videos, and I hadn't met him yet. And she just looks and she's like, "What are you watching?" And I'm on screen and she's like, "Yeah, my fiance was watching your videos. He doesn't know you. You just came up on his like recommended. And I didn't know this video had like 400,000 views."
That's so cool, man. Yeah, so the money thing, I think is very interesting, and I think I wish that more people knew about the opportunities. Like, like you said, you didn't even really know about that side of YouTube. It clicked for me in 2019. That's why I pulled the trigger. Then is a YouTuber I watch, Graham Stephan, made a video that was he's a master at clickbait titles, but also delivering on them, and it was how much money I made from 10 million views in 1 month.
Was that the one where he's like, "Yeah, I remember the first time I made $2,000 a day"?
Yeah. So that was actually a longer video, but in the beginning he shows how much money he made in the 28-day period, and it was $104,000.
Jeez.
I was like, 104, but I also made the connection like, oh yeah, you can make money from YouTube.
Yeah.
I just watch YouTube all day and night. Like I don't even think about, and I have YouTube Premium, so like I don't even see ads, so it doesn't even make the difference for me. But when I saw how much money could be made, I was like, whoa.
And like I had a vague idea because, like I said, I've been watching YouTubers for like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy named Swoozy. He's probably my favorite YouTuber ever.
Whoa. Never heard of it.
Yeah, he just tells funny stories about his life. And I remember him talking about, this was the first time when I joined the partner program, which I think is what they called it back in like
I think it's still called that.
10. And I was like, cool. What does that mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, the money thing was interesting because obviously like we love playing guitar, but this is a job.
Well, I mean, now I look at it as like you now have an opportunity. You as in you, the person listening to this, me, you. If it can bring in money and it's something you enjoy, like you now have the opportunity to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You now have full control, full autonomy over your time, life, decisions, and your business. And for people in the music world, whether it's you have a home studio setup, or maybe you're a drummer or a guitar player or a songwriter or something, and you're just like, you're gigging and you have a side job to pay the bills or whatever. I think I wish that more people were open to this world and knew about it, because I think maybe some people aren't open to it because they aren't aware of all of it, and a lot of people I think they know about it and are wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there's I forget who came up to me one time and they're like, "What do you do?" And I was like, "Well, I'm a YouTuber." And they're like, "Oh yeah, like don't you need 100,000 subscribers to get monetized?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, actually,
one." But so that's like, that is really compelling part of I am so lucky that I get to do this, and it's a dream. Every day is literally a dream. So and it doesn't really make sense for me to talk about it on my main channel because the more you get into like doing it, the more you learn about how to keep your channel working and stuff. And so if I made videos that were like, hey, let's talk about making money on a channel that's about like home studio and recording stuff, it doesn't really work. But that's why I want to do this, is because I want to talk with people openly about the business side of it, the opportunities, and man, it was not fast. It was not immediate and a lot of money, but I saw the potential, and I had enough things start to work slowly and steadily to where I turned it into a business. And I took, like, I'm a recording engineer. I'll just do things that I'm already doing as an engineer, and I'll film it, and I'll talk about it in the video and put that on the internet. And because I had no idea, like, it's so hard to guess, like, oh, the people of the world will love this idea I have. And so instead of trying to come up with ideas, I would just document what I was already doing, and people who do similar things hopefully would find value in watching it, some sort of value. And but there's a bunch of parts to it, man. Like, there's like the monetization from views, which is called ad revenue. So you start posting videos. If you get monetized, that means that every time somebody watches your video and is shown an ad, you make some, pennies on a dollar or something.
Yeah.
But when you get lots of views and the videos are longer, then you make a lot more money. And there's a bunch of details into that. But the takeaway for me is like, okay, if people are watching something that you post and you're a singer-songwriter or a musician or whatever, then you have people who are interested in what you're doing. That is an business opportunity, because you can just keep doing that, and then you can build a business off of it. I mean, I have no experience. I didn't even go to college.
Yeah.
I went to a recording school and learned about SSLs and signal flow. And then I spent 6 years at a recording studio where I also didn't learn anything about business. But when I started to put the pieces together, I really tried to make sure that I took the right steps, formed a proper business, opened a business account. Yeah. And then the ad revenue is great, but it's like it fluctuates with views.
It does. Like, that's what I didn't know in the beginning.
Yeah.
That was probably the hardest part for me, because I had that like immediate, just like,
I was flabbergasted when you told me about your first month. I was like, that's triple whatever I've made.
And then I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna make this every month. We're gonna be good. Gonna buy my future wife a cool house in Franklin, whatever. And then, within my third month of ad revenue was half of what my first month was. And it's like,
which is still good.
Still great. Still like I'm making a living doing YouTube.
Yeah.
But when you start to see those drops, you start to be like, okay, I maybe need to think of like
sustainability.
And this is like, I love making these comedy videos and whatever, but like, where can I go from this? Like, how can I other revenue sources, make even AdSense better, stuff like that.
Yeah. So we talked about that a lot.
Yeah. I think I called you because my channel would just like
ebb and flow
so much. And there would be like, because it was always at the end of the month where I like had 2 or 3 videos just took off 250,000 views, like 2 or 3 of them in a row.
It's amazing.
And then I would have like, then the next month would start and I would have like 2 videos that would just tank.
Yeah.
Just tank that I put so much time into. And I'd be like, Andy, what do I do?
Yeah.
But the channel's dead. And those are the exact words. The channel is dead.
So yeah, I mean, like the other things is like the ad revenue is less predictable, but as long as you keep going, that's I think what I told you a lot. Just like keep making videos, trying to make them better, and posting them, you'll be okay. And then you need to figure out how to create an extra streams from that stream, right? So for me, it was in 2020, I was not making a lot of AdSense. So I'll say how much I made because it was not a lot. Like when I started, I got monetized in February, and from February 14th to March, I made $250.
I remember you telling me that.
But I wasn't getting any of the views like you were. I had just crossed the threshold, and the views I was getting translated to $250. I also got a sponsor from DistroKid, and they paid me, I don't know, I didn't sign anything, $250. And so I made $500.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's I did the same thing. I was like, that's $500 a month now that, wasn't there. And I was very excited. But the next month, March to April, the ad revenue doubled and went to 500.
Whew.
I don't remember. I don't think I got a sponsor that month, but there was that's when I did a product review for the Adam audio speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so hyped when I got the email and they're like, hey, we'd love for you to check out our speakers. We'll send you a pair. You can check it out. And I was like, I can use them in my room. Like, that's amazing because I know my room. I know how things sound in here. And I was so excited. I'm like, do I get to keep them? Like, are these my speakers? But we didn't talk about it. And, I made a review video, and of course I liked the speakers, and I think they liked the video. And after the video went up, he's like, so it looks like you like them. Do you want to, would you like to like a pair? I was like, yes, yes, for sure. So when I got that pair of speakers, to me, I was like, well, I just made $1,500 because I just got a new pair of speakers that cost $1,500.
Yep.
Which is just something you do when you're poor. You're like, you'll be like, oh, somebody gave me lunch, so I made money today.
Dude, I literally worked at a studio here in town. I struggle to call it that, for a guy who would pay me by buying me lunch, and it's literally that exact same thing, where he'd be like, go get yourself a sandwich and some fries. Tell my friends, like, I am making money doing music now. Yeah. So but from then to now, it's like, the 2020 thing, the thing that I added. So I wasn't making very much money, but by the end of the year, I was pulling in, I think December I had hit like $2,200 a month in ad revenue. And that was a big moment because it was consistently, like, I think I started doing the studio tours in August, and then that's when I crossed 2,000, and it was like consistent. I think I was looking for, like, if I can get 3 or 4 months of the same amount, then my wife is going to stop working. Yeah.
Like, this will be enough for both of us. I was also doing, like, producing for an artist, Andrew McGrath. Did you ever meet him?
I didn't ever meet him, but you showed me all his music. He's super talented.
And we were doing some stuff, so there was a little extra money there. I was doing for hire engineering, mix stuff, tracking stuff.
Dude, I was one of those. You remember that?
Oh yeah. We did. We started something.
We started a song, never finished it.
Never finished it. Yeah. But yeah, it was sparse, extra, plus the YouTube stuff. So I was really excited when the YouTube stuff got to that point. But one of the things I added in 2020, which was a new stream of income, was consultations, which is basically you can just go to my website and book a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And we would just talk over our FaceTime or Zoom cameras. And it was a little bit of a joke.
Yeah. Like,
no one's going to book this. But Wix, my website, was like, oh, you can now add these on there. And I was like, oh, cool. And I can't remember what I charged. It was very low. I think it was like $50 for an hour or something like that. But I was like, that's what I charge for, like, engineering, $50 an hour.
Yeah.
And it was the most successful thing I ever done. Like, those immediately got booked. So that created a couple $200-300 a month.
Yeah.
I would just sit and drink coffee and talk to cool people, and I really, really liked it. But that was like the first like, oh, okay, I can do another thing and just mention it in my videos.
Yeah.
And you know,
There's
you
another stream.
for artists, songwriters, producers, like that's the same thing. When you're making videos, they're your videos. You can say, hey, I made coffee cups or t-shirts, or I have a album I produced. I have this. Go check that out. And your viewers will check it out and will enthusiastically support you.
Dude, I was shocked the first time because like when I was first making those videos pop off, I was still like, oh, I can be a producer, and I'd put like just like my email in there. And I was shocked at the amount of people who were like, oh, let's produce something together, or something like that, or you want to produce this for me? I'll pay for it. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
just throw away email.
I mean, it's really, really amazing, and I hope that more people that I know and people I don't know start doing it, because it's a life changer. I think it's changed your life.
Yeah,
it's dramatically changed mine, my wife's, my kids. Our life is infinitely better. And
dude, I got fired a year ago.
Yeah,
like a year and 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
It's like, wow. But yeah, all of that is amazing.
And okay, so now you have pivoted a little on your channel.
Yes.
How's that going?
So one of my first sponsors, I remember having a conversation with them when I was at like 7,000 subscribers, and they were like, hey, I was like, by the way, I love these comedy videos. They're great. Sometime in a long, long distant future, I'd like to do long form content. And even back then, I throughout my first 5-6 months on YouTube, I made one video that was like 4 minutes long, and I was exhausted. I was literally exhausted. I think I had to film it like twice to do like 2 different scenes. So I was like, this is ridiculous. I don't know how Andrew does these hour-long videos.
Yeah, dude.
But I pivoted and I started doing long-form content.
Yeah, which was a good move.
It was a good move. The guitar comedy thing was very fun.
Yeah.
It was super fun. It was super cool to do. But you do get to the point where like you run out of the amount of times you can say strap players like John Mayer.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all that. I still, look back at those videos. But the more I got into, like you said, you almost, it's not even just about, the higher money making potential of longer videos, which is astronomically higher than a 30-second video. I remember there's one creator I was watching. Her name's Catherine Manning. She's in a completely different field than me.
Yeah.
And I remember she straight up breaks down her numbers, and she comparatively to the views that my channel was getting, she was like, yeah, I got 300,000 views this month. I made $5,000 just off AdSense before any sponsorships. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Because her videos are 15 minutes long.
Yeah.
So just like you said, getting into the audio and video side more.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, okay, I can do some of these like longer form videos.
Yeah.
And make them and start improving my camera work and improving my audio quality and how I talk to the audience and what I'm talking about. And it's like, okay, so I made a very, very hard pivot.
Yeah.
Like I literally just completely stopped really making those 30-second, 1-minute comedy videos. And the first one I made was about John Mayer. And when I first put it out, basically, no one really watched it. But what I did notice was that the people that did watch it really liked it. And I got a lot of comments that were just like, listen, bro, I like the comedy stuff, but this long stuff,
yeah,
this is what I want.
I remember telling you, talking to you about doing the longer stuff, and I remember exactly what you said, but I remember saying you should talk more because people will get to know you better by hearing you talk literally just for a few minutes more.
And I don't know if you remember this, but you actually told me that like 7 or 8 months ago when the channel was first talking off, because you were like, people want to see like what you're all about, whether you like go play at church or whether you like go play in Nashville, just see like what it's like being like a wannabe guitar player basically in this city.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I was like, okay, cool, but the comedy stuff.
Yeah.
And now with that, like you said, like you told me this time, it's like people want to see you talk.
Yeah, it's just to get to know you, because people clearly like what you're doing, and being able to connect with you a little bit more, even if it's about like a topical thing, they're going to relate to it more, or people who do relate to it will find it, and they'll really like it and support you. And that's probably the most important thing, is having the right audience who wants to support what you're doing, which is a crazy thing to think about. I think most people think no one's ever going to care about what I say or what I'm doing. No one's going to have any interest in this. You're wrong.
You'd be surprised.
You are wrong. There are a lot of people in this world.
7 billion of them. And it's like, it's just like, yeah, it's a weird thing. It's really weird to think about.
So now you're doing the longer stuff. How has that been, like, work-wise? What's changed? Because you're still putting up a lot of videos.
Yeah, I'm putting up less, which is super nice.
Yeah.
The thing I told you, I think in the beginning of this, it was very difficult. I'd come from making 30-second videos at the longest, a minute and a half, and I made one 4-minute video. But when I was first making these videos, 10 minutes long, 8 minutes long, the work was horrendous. I just didn't know how to make these videos. I didn't know how to budget my time. And so I would put out a video at 9:30, which was my go-to time in the morning. And because I didn't know how to do anything yet, I would be up till 6 in the morning making that video.
Yeah, I remember calling you in the morning, and or maybe you called me and you were telling me about a video you did, and then you're like, yeah, I said, what are you doing today? You're like, I'm gonna go to bed. I was like, what?
Because that video specifically, that was the John Frusciante one. That video specifically, I was up till 6 in the morning making it, wanting to put it out at 9:30, and I had to get up at 8:45, I think, to make the thumbnail. And I was like,
oh yeah, the thumbnail.
I was like,
damn thumbnail.
As soon as that video went out, I checked the stats for a little bit, and then I went to bed.
Yeah.
For like 3 hours. And I don't think it performed that well on day one, but it actually ended up saving my career.
That's another thing, is like the getting in your head when you start posting consistently and you do take it seriously, getting in your own head over the numbers, and especially over the numbers during day 1 and day 2, because sometimes you post something and it's a total flop. Yep. And you get really upset and you're like, oh, this sucks. I really like that video.
Like my YouTube career's over.
Yeah, and then 4 days later, it's like takes off, and you can't really predict that kind of stuff. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe you can, Mr. Beast. But
Jimmy's got a gift.
Yeah, I've been binging a lot of his the compilations of him lately, being like, well, you know what you need is you just need better people around you to tell you that your videos are terrible. I'm like, oh, you're right, Jimmy. My videos do suck. What am I doing? But yeah, like it's definitely. Who was that? I had I can't remember who I was just talking to, but I was saying, what I do is I post a video and then I immediately start working on the next one, so I forget about the one that went up.
That was the YouTuber who
what was her name? I think I know
Katie Yu. She's like a girls fashion YouTuber, and I watch her a lot because it's weird. You don't watch a lot. Like I don't watch a ton of guitar content. Like I keep up with who's, but sometimes she had a video that's like how I went from 0 to 100,000 subscribers in 6 months.
Yeah,
she's a great editor.
Yeah, that I watched that video too. Did I send that to
Yeah,
you?
you sent me that one
Yeah,
after I had been like upset that like my videos were.
that was a good video. She did a great job. Funny, that's the only one I've watched from her, but it was a good video and gave a lot of important, valuable things for people who are thinking about starting a channel. But yeah, I think it's really important to be consuming a very broad
Yes.
range of different types. Like I don't watch anything about this stuff. Like I don't watch any studio stuff. I watch a lot of camera YouTube. I listen to a lot of comedy. And I mean, that's really it. And then I'm trying to like listen to more music and you know, I have a wife and kids, so we break the day up where I hang out with them. But I never consume stuff that I make, unless like I'm building a pedal board. So I'm like, how do I build a pedal board? That I'm looking that up. But
No, I feel the same way though. Like a lot of the YouTubers who I take inspirations from, especially with the long form videos and just wanting to like create stories, as well as like, you know, guitar lessons, if you could call them.
mm-hmm.
They're not guitar YouTubers.
Mm-hmm.
There are some guitar YouTubers who are incredible, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But like most of the stuff I watch is just, like I said, Swoozy's my favorite YouTuber of all time. And he just tells stories about like embarrassing dating stories that he's had. And it's like the most engaging thing I've ever seen, which goes back to the thing where you're like, why would anyone care? It's like, I watch all of his videos the moment they come out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really important. When I started, one of the things, because I didn't know what videos I was going to make, I just knew that I wanted to make videos. I, instead of trying to come up with a plan, I just tried to reflect on what do I watch as a viewer.
Yeah.
Like, let's not try to play the guessing game on what's going to work. Let's just see what's working with me as a viewer.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to remember, I literally went to history, watched, and just went through each video, and I learned a lot. And none of the YouTubers were music related. It was like Casey Neistat, Peter McKinnon, a lot of camera folks, or just different channels that weren't in my field. And I was like, what, man, I clicked on this, and then immediately I'm 7 minutes in, like, what did I even click on this? And what did they do in the first 30 seconds? Let's look at the first 30 seconds of their video and what happened here, how they shot it, what's being said. Sometimes people make videos and say nothing for a minute, and then they say something. It's like so epic when they do.
I think that's the coolest part about all this is like going back with what I know now, and like a YouTuber makes a video, one of your favorites makes a video, and you actually start to analyze, like you said, like, oh, I know what they did there. Or even on the other end, you see like a YouTuber who you're like, oh, this kid is good, but he, like, this video didn't pop off because like 30 seconds in it's just boring.
Yeah.
Or he has no point to this video or something like that.
Yeah. How are we doing, by the way? Is this good?
I think we hooked him in the first 30 seconds. They had us in the first half, and you know that meme?
No, I don't.
There's a kid. He's like, they had us in the first half. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, you just start to analyze different YouTubers, and you find, and it's not just like I like Casey Neistat, but it's like Casey Neistat's a genius at this. This is how he hooks you in the first 30 seconds. This is how the different things, and like when you start breaking those down, that's when you go down a completely different rabbit hole. And I think the same thing with guitar players that I've thought about. It's like, why did my channel blow up, and why did somebody's not, or why did somebody's blow up even more than mine? And you're like, oh, I can point to that. I know what that is.
Yeah. Do you enjoy it?
I do.
Do you, this is a long-term plan for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if in the same way, because like my channel did a pretty decent shift going from 30-second videos to 8, 9, 10 minutes long. But yeah, I do see YouTube, at least in some facet, especially with the growth I've had over the last year. Like,
yeah, just so people understand, you had like something hundred,
I had
400.
150.
Yeah, like 6-7 months ago.
Yeah.
Now you have let's just say 120,000. When this goes up,
Yeah.
you'll have 175, 200,000.
No.
This won't go up until probably it's January, folks. This will be in January. So my guess is you'll maybe even be at 200,000.
No.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
2 months.
that's crazy.
2 months.
How much you've grown.
It is crazy, and it's one of those things where I have to look back and really like try and take in, because I've been doing music now I started that Desolation of Shmao came out 9 years ago. It's like I had really never had anything happen success-wise
Yeah.
with music. It had just been a lot of like me thinking that one day it's out of the blue gonna happen.
Yeah.
With me doing nothing, which is a thing I think a lot of musicians for some reason think. It's like literally like thinking like being in school, like, yeah, I'm going to be a lawyer.
Well, you got to kind of tell yourself a story, and you got to believe it, or else, it won't happen. I firmly believe that saying, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right, and so if you think you can do something and you just keep doing it until it does happen, and you're smart about it, and you change course and evolve and whatever to make it happen, you will. What's cool about the YouTube thing is I think if people who are even interested a little bit in it pursue it in a way that's sustainable and that's fun to do, then that can actually wind up opening doors that give you opportunities that are 10 times better than you thought of in your original goal.
Oh yeah, and I'm a big fan of pivoting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cause I remember I think we talked when everything started, and I was like, oh, I could use this as this to get like my songwriting or my producing career, and you were just like, chill, just look at what you have right now and see where that leads. Not that any of that stuff is bad,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think also there's just so many places where like the YouTube thing can take you that you don't even realize.
Yeah.
When you're starting, that are just wild.
Yeah, I think you made a really good move going from short form to longer form, but like you did it well, and the videos are interesting, and I think it's a pretty solid like demographic that you have of like people who are really similar to you and similar to your interests, which is something I discovered early on when my channel first started to grow. I got a lot of messages like on Instagram, and I screenshot them and I had a folder of them because some of them were like really, really nice and really like thoughtful.
Yeah.
But my wife pointed out, I was scrolling through, I was like, look, these are from today. I'm scrolling through, and she's like, every single one of these starts with, hey, bro. But they were all essentially, hey, bro, my wife and I just had a kid. I'm trying to get my home studio set up. I'm a drummer too.
Yep.
It's like a bunch of people all around the world who are in the exact same shoes I'm in.
Yeah.
They're just not posting on videos. They're seeing mine. They're going, hey, he's doing what I'm doing.
Yep.
I just, and then because it's similar, they love it. And I'm like, you don't think that there's that many people out there that are that similar to you, but there are. It's really crazy, and it's cool to be able to connect with other people, even when you're just posting a video.
Yep. And
they're commenting or whatever. But there is a definite connection, and it is funny. I know you've had people come up to you too, right?
Yeah. Just even like being in guitar stores.
Yeah.
Which is the wildest thing. Like, it's literally the wildest thing in the world where like someone comes up to you and they're like, hey,
yeah,
I watch your videos, and I'm like, shoot.
A bunch of people I've told your story to have been like, oh yeah, so I've seen him. And some of them are like way bigger tubers than both of us.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, I saw his stuff. Michael Palmisano, I was talking to him from Guitargate.
Yeah, and that's like weird because it's like, especially when it's like some of your heroes like that. I remember when I was here when you were teaching me about Logic. That was the moment when Mateus Sasato first commented on one of my things. And I was like,
yeah.
And you just have that like internal freak out where you're like,
whoa,
that's the guy I always watch.
I watch him on Instagram
Yeah.
and on YouTube, and now he's watching me. Like,
Yeah.
never think that would happen. It was just so cool.
You literally never think it, but it's like you said, where it can take you, you don't realize it. And yeah, I don't know. I'm rambling a little bit.
What about movies? You gonna start a movie channel?
I will. I've flirted with the idea of starting a movie channel.
I want you to so
for a while.
badly.
For those of you that don't know, if I wasn't doing anything musically on YouTube, I would more likely than not be doing video essays on like
Oh yeah.
movies and just like breaking down like different. Honestly, one of my goals like long term is to make a music film. Now that I'm really into videography and that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of like my long term goals, like to make a full length film of like about music. But the film I'd want to make has kind of already been made. It's called Whiplash. Stars Miles Teller.
Yeah.
It's one of the best films I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, because with you on Instagram, you're always posting about movies
Yes.
on your stories, and it's amazing that you don't
Yeah.
make videos, because now you have practice
Yeah.
of making videos and growing a channel and growing a second channel. You have a second channel too. You just posted the second channel recently too, right?
Yeah, I posted for the first time, and that second channel was it started kind of as a freak out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, that was when my revenue had dropped after a couple months, and I was like,
Plan B.
Plan B, second stream of revenue. And I had forgotten, one, how hard it is to get monetized. I'm not even monetized on that second channel.
What?
I have 1,000 subscribers.
Oh, is it because of the watch time?
Yep.
Oh, okay. That's crazy because you got a bunch of subscribers, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But yeah, that second channel I posted for the first time in like 4 or 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And it is true, like you said, because like part of it, like we talked about, I think before, is that video making is just as much a part of this as like any of the guitar playing or any of the actual aspects of the video. So it's so much more tangible in my mind to be able to make a movie channel now than even like a year ago. And it's not like I went to film school in the past year, but there are just those intangible things that I know now where I could be like, okay, maybe I can make a film channel one of these days. I've thought about like pivoting, where I'll be like, it's the Jimi Hendrix thing that, or it's like Jimi Hendrix at 27 doing all this like rock and roll heavy fuzz stuff. But like if he was still here and he'd just turned 80, I don't know if he'd still be like,
Yeah.
whereas like the same thing here, like I plan on doing YouTube, and I think that's going to be awesome. But I wonder sometimes where I'm like, in 10 years, will I still be the guitar guy, or will I be doing a Yes Theory thing and trying to like fly around the country doing whatever?
The opportunities are there, which is, I'm convinced, is like once you start and you kind of figure it out, and especially when it becomes financially viable, and you've essentially completed the process, and you go, okay, I figured out how to do this in at least this category or this thing. You can try it with other things too. And the trick is when you try something new to keep the other thing still going.
Yes.
So that thing's still happening, and then you're doing like me with this podcast.
I mean, have you thought about like a day in the future, like 20 years from now, where you're like, maybe I'm not doing like audio stuff. Maybe I'm doing like
Oh, totally. Yeah, dude. I mean, the thing is for me is it's just going to be whatever I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And for better or for worse, for better or for worse, I am obsessed with audio. And I'm obsessed with music production and like everything around it is like, it's not even something that I like do because anything other than like I just want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, and I want to know more, and I want to get better, and I also see value in, like, every time I learn something, if I make a video and share it with the world, someone's going to get that same value of, oh man, I've had that for a while and I didn't know how to use console with my Apollo.
Dude, even in some of my, that's the best video. Those are the best comments. I've had it in some of the videos that I've put out where someone says, hey, you really broke this down well. And it's like, I didn't even.
Really?
Like, wow, thank you.
Yeah.
Or they're like, I never understood this before. And I'm like, wow. I mean, like, those comments mean the world.
Yeah. Not, something I've discovered is not everyone who is like, the people who watch your stuff and are the most supportive and who really enjoy it are the least likely to leave comments. Now, I will say, I need a cough button. So when I cough, I mute it. I will say, I've been very lucky with the people who do leave comments are very, very nice for the vast, overwhelming majority of comments. But on those consultations with that people book and the people that I've met, they're the most regular version of a supportive person who watches. And so, yeah, there's a little bit of a, what's it called? Reality distortion. Yep. When you see like, nonsense comments, like that's just a tiny fringe, small amount.
But it gets
who needed to post that to feel better. And it's like, you got to not read it read into it too much.
It gets to you. It really does. I was telling you before, I had a guy who left 44 comments.
Yeah.
And they were all just different variations of "you stink."
Yeah.
And like, and honestly, like, there have been a lot of really good criticisms that I found. Like, just in terms of like people being like, especially I had a lot of red light syndrome. For those who don't know what that is, it's just like you press the record button and you almost forget how to play.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Even in my early videos, my hands were shaking and like,
yeah,
I would play these simple licks that I could play all the time, but I just couldn't play them. The bends were out, everything like that. Where people,
you're like, Mateus is watching this.
Mateus is watching this.
He's judging me.
But my hands would literally be shaking.
Yeah.
I would like recording sometimes, and like you get to the point. What was I even saying?
Red light syndrome.
Red light syndrome.
The comments.
Yeah. You get to the point where some people are leaving really good comments, like, "Hey, I understand you, brother, but this needs to improve. This needs to improve.
Yeah.
This needs to improve." And there are people who will write long, like, essays about, "Hey, I love the channel, but you're alternate picking. You really need to improve this, and this, and like, I just want to see the channel grow." And those are the best comments, almost.
What's funny is a similar thing. When I started doing studio tours, it was my wife's idea to do them every week, and I was like, "Are you crazy? That's insane to do these every single week. You know how hard it's just going to be to find a different studio every week and then schedule it and go and shoot and then edit the whole thing." But when I posted the first few, I had this thing called a switch pod, which is basically a little grip to hold the camera and then the on-camera mic. And I did everything. I had one battery and one memory card. And that's kind of crazy. But, so the videos are shaky. And I was getting comments. I noticed comments on like the first few videos of like, "Dude, it's so shaky, man. I can't. It's making me dizzy and nauseous and this and that." And then so in one of the intros, I was like, "Hey, sorry that the videos are shaky.
Yeah.
I'm an over-caffeinated drummer trying to use cameras, and I shouldn't be. But, hey, if you want to fix that, you're welcome to. I said, and gimbals are expensive. I said, but if you want to buy me a gimbal or send me one, let me know. Go to my website. Tongue in cheek, joking.
Mm-hmm.
That video went up, and within 1 hour, I got an email from a guy who's like, "Hey man, I love your channel. Saw the video today." He goes, "Hey, I make music as a hobbyist. I work in tech. I've got money." And he goes, "I'd be happy to, I have like an Amazon, some of these Amazon gift cards. I can, get you one of these gimbals." And then he, in the same email, said, "I noticed that you use the EOS R, and it looks like the best two gimbals for that camera are this one and this one." He goes, which one of these would you want? And then he went even further. He goes, "It looks like this one is better, but it's not going to ship. This one will take longer in shipping, and this one will ship faster."
It's just a random guy?
A random guy. He's like, I'll get you either one." And I was like, what? Oh my God. That's amazing. It was like a $500 gimbal. Actually, maybe it was like $400. I can't remember. But still, it was like amazing. I didn't, I wasn't going to spend $400 on a gimbal.
Yeah.
And he bought it. I was like, I'll take the one that gets here the fastest, because I was about to go to LA and shoot more of these tours. And so he got it for me and bought it from Amazon. Amazon delivered it to my house. And that guy still comments on things here and now and then, but he's got an amazing setup too. Way I've got a pretty nice setup now, but way nicer setup than I had at the time.
Yeah.
And literally, so that was something that was wrong with my videos. And some people were calling me out in the comments. I'm like, "Hey man, sorry, this stuff's expensive, and I'm not gonna stop drinking coffee." So,
jeez, no, yo, you gotta speak into this. Yeah, you that's unbelievable. I think for me, it's been like when people would just leave you a tip on YouTube. They have that new function.
Oh yeah, I've seen that a couple times. It blows my mind that you can just be like, "Thanks, here's $5 or whatever."
Or so someone will be like, "I really love this video. Here's $10."
Yeah. By the way, if you guys didn't know, you can leave tips in the comments.
You can.
I'm not going to tell you to do that. I'm not even going to ask you to do that. But just PSA, it is possible to do that. It's fascinating technology. Are you still making music?
Yes and no.
Is it more for fun?
It is more for fun now. It's more to get better.
Yeah.
I do a lot, and like I said, I had that point when I was first making the long form content where I'd be up till 6 a.m.
Pull that thing a little closer to you.
When I was first doing long form content, I was up till 6 a.m, 5 a.m, and I actually had to create a schedule.
Yeah. You're very rigid with your schedule, man. Your phone.
Yeah.
It's hard to get a hold of you, bro.
When Andrew will call me sometimes, and he'll be like, "You did pick up for 3 hours." If I'm editing, there is no one in the world that can text me or call me that I will pick up to. Just because I did experience that 6 a.m. stuff, and it messed with my head so badly. But nowadays, I try, at least if I'm not really rushing, which I am sometimes during Christmas and Thanksgiving season, to just have a cutoff time.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it be 7, 8, 9 p.m.
Go hit the movies.
Yeah. Go hit the movies, something like that. And so, once a couple times a week, put 8 bars into Logic.
Yeah.
Make a beat.
Yeah.
If I think it's all right, I'll post it to Instagram.
Should we start a band?
We could start a band. What would we call the band?
Well, we already kind of have a band with Daniel.
Yeah.
I named it. I took the liberty of naming it Unoriginal.
Also, if any of you guys follow Daniel Hunter, tell him to post more.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He calls me and texts me and sends me Marco Polos on Mondays and Tuesdays, because he's off on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And it's always the same, "Hey dude. So I'm just sitting here. It's Monday. So you want to jam?" And because I'm a huge schedule person as well. sometimes I'm like, let's go. I can do it. It's got to be in the afternoons. But yeah, Daniel's great, very talented dude. And
Unbelievable.
we started producing one of his songs, but the Monday, Tuesday, and then not being available the rest of the week sometimes doesn't always work for me. So, but yeah, dude, we should make some music.
Oh yeah, I'm down with that. I still love it. It's just one of those things where, like, you know, like, I came to this town wanting to be a producer, but finding this YouTube thing, and it's just equally as much of a passion, but like, just with like, this is what I do to put bread on the table now, and this is like, you know, your priorities shift a little bit.
So 100%. My the thing that changed with me is I went from recording as a job to not needing to record for a job.
Yeah.
YouTube's revenue replaced my need to do client work. And sometimes doing client work makes you not even want to do it. Sometimes you work with someone and you're like, I hate this. This is actually kind of ruining the whole experience for me. And I had plenty, I'm sure a lot of other people who are mixers, engineers have experienced this. This is a lot of the work, especially when you're starting. And it's just like, maybe you get a gig and they just have money, you know, but the songs are garbage and the performances are no good or whatever. It's just a nightmare to work on. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes you find great artists, people to work with. And then sometimes you get like I had gotten several projects where they had already been recorded and they gave them to me to mix. And sometimes when you aren't there for the recording process and it's not done well, it's no longer, this is something I say, it's probably a little silly at this point, but it's no longer mixing because it's now you're fixing.
Yeah.
And when the job is fixing, it is not the same as mixing. It's not fun. It sucks to do. It sucks all the joy out of, you know, the thing that you like to do. And I had done a lot of stuff I really loved, especially when I was at East West. But the second that I didn't have to take client work, I started doing engineering projects just for the joy of it. But it's 100% on my terms now. So now I get to sort of dictate, you know, so that way it always stays fun. There's never like a belaboring part of it.
Oh, no, I 100% get that. And it's kind of the same way with my channel. Where like every once in a while I'm doing a gear review. And it's like, ooh, I want to see what this guitar would sound like in the mix. So I'll do something really quickly where I'll produce like a rock track and solo.
Yeah, but it's just for fun.
It's just for fun. And I've worked with other people before, sometimes with really good friends.
Yeah.
It is a lot of work being a producer and a mix engineer. And I'm not even at your level or anywhere near professional, but I was like, I had a couple people hit me up like post YouTube blowing up, being like, hey dude, I saw a beat you made in this video, like, let's work on a song together, let's do this. And I've just been like, listen, like,
I appreciate it.
I'm flattered that you like this stuff, but like it almost wouldn't be worth either of our times to do a song or try and get something really going off. I've even felt the same way almost about, not that anyone's asking me to tour as a guitar player. No one is asking me to tour, but if someone did.
Nah. Dude, because you've got a thing. You've got a rhythm now. You've got stability. You've got, and you enjoy doing it, which I think so many people would love to have. And I think so many people can do if they got out of their own way, but
but that's the reason why you became a musician in the first place.
Yep.
Is because you didn't want to because you're obsessed with it and you're like, I don't know about you, but when I was working for these phone companies, you know, mine wasn't 9 to 5, it was 11 to 8.
Yeah, it's AT&B, right?
Yes, AT&B and Romcast. Like I'd be sitting there at like 10:30 in the morning. All I can think of, like, I'm trying to help the client and I'm doing my best, but man, all I'm thinking about in the back of my head is like, I saw Rick Beato talk about compression this morning, and I need to try that new thing.
Yeah.
I was like, John Mayer's new tapping, like I know, like this is all you can think about.
Yeah. I think it's super cool what you're doing, and I've loved watching it, like just the whole story. And I also tell people who are on the fence of starting channels, start before you're ready, because the videos will be bad, but no one will watch them, so you can rest assured no one will see it. But the more videos you do, you're completing a process, and then you can reflect and improve on the process over and over. And then we all get to look back and go, wow, look at that first video. It was so bad.
I mean, dude, I'm thankful for you too, because you're literally the reason I'm doing all of this. But yeah, even like 3 years ago, I was talking about, I did videos for 100 days, and those are very much on private now.
I was gonna say, where are they?
They are on private.
You gotta unlist them and then send some to me.
They're wow. I've watched some of them. Like that was even before you gave me the moment lens. So some of them were straight up on like a Samsung Galaxy S9. Like not even really knowing.
That's a problem. We gotta get you on an iPhone.
Not even knowing like where like anything about lighting my kitchens in the background. And I was like, hey, my name's Mike. Have you ever listened to the 1975? Because that's what I did today. It was like,
you should restart that series just for fun.
The greatest thing in the world, because there's not many of them. There's not many. There's probably only like 30 or 40 subscribers that I have. Mm-hmm. But one or two of them have come up and been like, hey, Mike, it's cool to see you hit 100,000. I've been here since those 100 days. It's cool when someone's like, I've been here since 5,000. But when someone's like, I've been here since you've had
the deep cut,
60 subscribers.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah. Do you ever get any like, how come you don't do this anymore?
Not really.
That's good.
Not really, and I was afraid that would happen.
Yeah.
But with the comedy stuff, a lot of the comments are just, hey, I like the comedy stuff, I really did, but this is so much better. Which means the world to me.
I promise I'm not bored. I think I'm nervous being around a rock star like you.
I think I'm nervous being around a rock star like you. Look at this studio.
I yawn when I'm nervous. Yeah, man, it's amazing. Well, dude, I'm grateful that you did an episode with me.
Dude,
fun fact behind the scenes, I borrow Mike's camera. The camera that's on me is Mike's camera because now he's a gangster and he's got real nice gear.
Yes. So I had the camera that I was using was a very cheap camera I bought 2 years ago before I knew anything I would even ever be doing YouTube.
Rebel.
Yeah, I bought the Rebel T7, which, you know, if you're...
Bro, it took you this far.
It did take me this far. And then I bought a different camera. And
got a better lens for it first, right?
Yeah, I got the better lens, the Sigma 18-35, which is great lens.
Yeah.
And I literally remember posting the first video with the 18-35, and like half of the comments were like, Mike's got a new camera.
Yeah. Hey, what's the f-stop on that?
1.8.
Is it? I want to try that.
It's real nice.
Can't remember if I tried that.
And then a couple months ago, I was like, right now I'm in my just like videography. Like this is as important to me as guitar playing, and like
it's fun, man.
I was like, Andrew, it's time. And I returned the old camera because I bought a new camera. I returned it because you were like, listen, you don't need $1,000 camera. You need the big guns.
$2,200 camera.
And I literally like drove to the store that morning.
Yeah.
And I bought the new one, and it took a little bit out of my heart seeing that money leave. But I mean, I've only made like a couple videos with it.
Yeah.
And some of them haven't even come out yet. But
it's a great camera. I'm planning on getting either that or the Mark II. Also, they might come out with the Mark II of this, so we'll see how that one.
Oh, the R5?
The R5. So, because I'd love to get a second one of these, but they overheat. Thankfully, it hasn't overheated. Nothing has gone wrong. Knock on wood. We'll see. We'll see if this comes out. If
You know
something goes
Mr.
wrong.
Beast uses the R5?
What? Oh, yeah. Well, not for every camera.
I think for a lot of them.
Well, I think maybe some of the stuff where he's on camera they use it, but for most of his videos they have like 300 cameras. They're not doing 300 R5s, dude.
Oh yeah, that's
I think he said something that they had like 10,000 cameras or something crazy.
yeah, I have heard that.
But I would have guessed he's got a lot of rebels.
He probably does. And honestly, to learn, the only problem with the Rebel, to learn videography is a great camera.
Yeah.
Phenomenal camera.
Mhm.
Learned all about focus and everything, and ISO and all that stuff. But there's no pull-out screen, so you can't.
Oh yeah, that's a killer.
That it's like, do you know how many videos I posted that
Out
I
of
look
focus.
back on it? It's just completely out of focus, and I'm like, yeah, it stinks. That was a great video.
Yeah. The camera I was using, once I stopped using my phone, I used my wife's camera, which was a Nikon, but it had, the autofocus was so loud that I couldn't use it because it would be like, like the whole time. And it didn't have a flip out screen, but I got an app where I could connect my phone and I could see it.
Oh.
So I would set the manual focus and I'd go sit down and I'd look in here. I go, okay, I gotta put a little bit more. But then I couldn't move for the whole video. I had to sit perfectly still. And if I did this too much, I'd be out of focus or whatever. And that was actually a very, very good lens and a pretty good camera. But yeah, I sold that and switched to the dark side of Canon.
There is nothing worse, and I've had this happen to me more times than I could tell you about. There's literally nothing worse than filming a good video. I don't really have red light syndrome anymore. I've gotten over it. Filming a good video that took you 2 hours because you have red light syndrome.
Yeah.
You upload it onto your Mac, and it's out of focus. And you're just like, I was ready to like punch a wall. I was like, I could give up. Film this video 3 times.
Hey, what does your family think about?
Love it. Super supportive. Yeah. Super supportive.
Isn't that cool?
It's one of those it's one of those things where, you know, like I said, my first videos, 17 views, 3 of them were my mom.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Shout out to moms.
shout out to moms, dude. Always commenting. My mom watches every single video that I post without question. Top subscriber right there.
Yeah, my wow, it's so different with the headphones off. I'm immediately gonna talk way louder. My mom, not on since day one, really, would watch because I pitched her on the dream. I'm like, this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And so every time I would go over to her house, she'd have my videos playing in the background on the TV, like on mute, and then she'd have it on like her phone and like her boyfriend's phone, and like if there's an iPad, like it's just playing on everything all the time. And she like cuts hair, so every time she's with the client, inevitably it comes up. She's like, "Oh, you should check out my son's channel."
Well, I was like, I told all my friends about your last video, and like, I have like people who I grew up with, like, you know, some of my sister's friends and whatnot, being like, "I watched your video," and their parents being like, "I watch your videos," and I'm like,
that's always funny when like a friend of yours' parents watch. I think that's when you know things are going well.
And you're just like, wow, this is. But I mean, those are the cool ones, because those are the people who knew you when you were making music, and they
knew you before.
They knew you when you were making the bad videos.
Yeah.
And the really bad music.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're an OG.
My friend Marcus, who I became friends with at B-Side. You remember Marcus, right?
Yeah, Marcus Meeson.
He told me, I think it was in 2021 probably. He said, "Dude, I went back to Pittsburgh and I was hanging out with my dad and we were watching YouTube, and lo and behold, your video was on his home screen." And I said, "That's my friend Andrew." And he goes, "You know him?" He goes, "Oh, I love his videos. I subscribed to his channel." He clicked on it, subscribed. He's like, "Yeah, I've watched a bunch of these." And
oh, shoot.
I was like, yes, that's so cool.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And yeah, those are the moments that like make it. You're like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, you never know who's watching too. One of the freakier things is like why 2021 somebody reached out to me via email and was like, hey, I have a question for you. It's about a studio. And they were like, they had their signature, like their email signature, and it was like the president of like a big film company. And I was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I got some time. I'm making macaroni and cheese in my underwear. Call them. And the amount of opportunities that came from that call, that person was like, wanted me to help them build a studio. And, you know, eventually I went out there and did. Mm-hmm. And then he introduced me to so many people, took me out to dinner with a bunch. I had dinner with Phineas and Eric Valentine and Kenny Aronoff. And I mean, we've done it. We're super good friends now, but he's in like a totally different world than me.
Yeah. And
just knowing like people like that and, you know, big directors and stuff, like J.J. Abrams apparently watches the channel. That's and I know he watches my friend Colt's channel. And it's like some of these people are making films that we grew up watching. And they're watching, they're like, oh, you got that reverb?
It's weird just like thinking, because like I've looked at my YouTube studio and you know, seeing who subscribes to you, who your public subscribers are.
Yeah.
And you're like, this dude has 2.5 million subs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is he subscribing to me?
He loves it.
It's like, and it doesn't even show you who hasn't subscribed. Yeah. So you're just thinking,
or who it's who hasn't subscribed and who is subscribed, but it's not public.
Yeah. So you're like, there could be some
people you look up to. Yeah.
Really look up to, like watch your channel on a regular basis. For me, yeah. Gary Clark Jr. shared one of my videos, and he's like, the reason that I play blues. Like he was literally the first blues player I looked up to, and in the comments one time it was like, by the way, Gary Clark Jr. just shared this, and I was like,
I love that.
What do you mean? Is that real? But yeah, like where it can take you.
When John Mayer reaches out to you, tell him that we met back at East West, and that I still remember those days.
If that ever happened, I would have the biggest freak out.
Tell him I remember.
Of this, like, of the millennium. If John Mayer ever reached out, you know what I'd ask him? Be like, do you know how to play Neon?
All right, let's wrap this up.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Where can people follow you?
YouTube is the best place.
YouTube, Mike Cole.
Mike Cole.
Will It Funk?
Will It Funk? You can try. I post there sometimes. Instagram, Mike Cole AT. I'm not great about Instagram.
Mike Cole AT.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Sweet. Thank you for doing this. Thank you, yeah. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.